I'm super excited today. Josh, how long have we known each other? It probably like 7, 8 years now.
Yep, it was 2011 back
Yeah.
at the first Boomtown Mastermind that we met at.
Yeah. So the one thing, I want to make sure everyone understands is that it's my job, kind of heading up this community to give you exposure to people that are building businesses or they can help you build your business. And I've known Josh now he from two different businesses where he really is just a business builder and he struggles like we all do with all of the thing I love about business is that it is like the ultimate equalizer. Like you can't make it up. Like you can't just, talk about how awesome your business is because it's never freaking awesome because it's got people involved in it. And one thing Josh has done really well, you own, what's your deal with RokrBox? You're the owner of RokrBox, right?
Yep, founder and CEO of RokrBox.
Yep. So he's a founder, CEO of RokrBox, which we've been using you probably for a couple years now, I would say.
Yep, since before the merger and then after the
Yep.
merger. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I'll let Josh kind of give a plug here. The cool thing about today is that Josh is really just going to feed into all of us in terms of what were you telling me, like 200 plus hires you've made in the last how many years?
Yeah, we started bringing on staff about 3 years ago, and over the last 3 years, we've hired and trained over 200 ISAs.
Yeah.
We've
And
got
so
like
he's going to get
220
into,
something.
what do you call it? Attracting, hiring,
Training and retaining.
training, and
Top.
retaining. And mainly probably what, 95% of those folks that you hired were millennials?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our pretty much 100% of our focus now is on bringing millennials on board and finding what the good ones, quote unquote, and making sure they get into a culture where they feel like they're a part of something meaningful. So why don't you kind of just give a quick intro? I kind of took a little bit of your intro away from
Sure.
you, but
Oh, no.
give like a couple minute intro about you, your background, and to kind of set the stage here.
Sure. Appreciate it, Lars. So like Lars said, we met back in 2011. I was actually working with Frank Klesitz at Viral Marketing back when he had, I think it was me, Frank, and two other people on the team. And Frank and I were sitting in that first Boomtown Mastermind with Lars. And I can remember a long time ago, back when in the mastermind format where everybody would come together, all the top agents, and complain about their biggest frustrations, but then share the secrets as to how they were solving those. Big topic back in 2011 was the whole ISA model. And, everybody in that room, I remember about 80% of the people in the room were like, my agents aren't following up with the leads. Who's going to follow up with the leads? And that was kind of right when the whole ISA concept was born. So I spent the next 2 years with Frank at Viral Marketing, basically as a marketing coach, helping people create content to stay top of mind for their database to get all that referral and repeat business. But along the way, one of my clients, Spring Benson, she had the same frustrations with the agents not following up with the leads, and so through the mastermind environments, we would meet up and meet each other at conferences. And then I remember again another Boomtown breakfast, I think this time, and everybody was talking about sharing what they were doing with this whole new ISA model. And so I leaned to Spring and I said, you got to go to this ISA model. And she turned back to me and said, hey, it's easier said than done. Why don't you help me do this? And so that was actually 5 years ago. And what started as a part-time project turned into a full-time company, really, because, when you can find something that many of the top agents share as a frustration in their business, then, it's common that if you can find a solution for that there's a lot of other people that need that solution. So that's what we've done at RokrBox over the last 5 years now. We boast that we've serviced over 1 million internet leads. We've trained over 200 ISAs. We work with over 100 different the top teams in the country, your team included, Lars. And we basically just are that first point of contact. The work is not difficult. It just needs to get done every single day. And the work has to be meaningful and it has to be fun. And that's what we've managed to accomplish at RokrBox. And so every single day, 7 days a week, snow, sun or shine or whatever, we're in the office, just pounding the phones, making sure that every single visitor that comes to your website gets that immediate instant greeting. And, we point them in the right direction for whatever resources they need, whether it's meeting with your lender, or meeting with a home buying specialist or home selling specialist. So that's what we do at RokrBox. But like Lars said, one of the things we're really excited about now is just kind of looking at the things that we've done over the last 5 years and hiring and training all these students. And really, that was just kind of really just an initial strategy on my behalf. I'm from College Station, Texas, home to Texas A&M Gig'em. And so I just always had a lot of pride in the talent that we had in that town, in that college town. And I had a lot of success coming up through college in the service industry and retail industry. And it was just always really easy to find, really good college students they're moving on to something bigger and better in their life. They're definitely investing themselves. They're showing that. It's pretty visible. Like they're in a different town than where they live, going to school every single day. But their market worth is not really that high yet. So we have an opportunity really to capture them when their market rate is so low, so we can make an affordable solution for everybody. But for these students, it's great because they have an opportunity to actually come in and get to experience some real life, real world sales processes, customer service experiences. They get incredible on the job training for anybody who's interested in pursuing careers in sales management, retail, restaurant, real estate, obviously. And so they're kind of looking at it as more of just than just a part-time job, but actually as kind of like a paid internship program. And so again, that's kind of why Lars asked me to come on here today, was just kind of share some of those things that we've done to create an environment where people are excited to come to and come to work every day, because the millennial is obviously the future of the industry. But I just was looking over some statistics recently, and by 2025, which is only 7 years from now, 75% of the workforce is going to be made up of millennials. So might be a good idea to start kind of getting used to how these creatures act and behave and what motivates them, and how you can create an environment that they're actually attracted to.
Yeah. And I want to mention, so a few things come up for me as you kind of introed here, is that here's a guy that's worth listening to. He's sort of played multiple high-level positions in an industry where he kind of came at it from the get-go. It's just like, how can I serve the struggling, mostly the struggling team leader, to get their message out there, content marketing, now through lead gen, lead conversion. And so really smart guy with a deep experience in our industry, worth listening to. And the other thing that I thought of as you were talking is that there's a couple different lenses I want you to, some of you, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm not going to onboard a bunch of ISAs and start an ISA department, and reaching out to rokrbox. Remind me that I want you to give the 30-second definition of rokrbox, because I think it's awesome.
Sure.
And I didn't know it. I thought rokrbox sounds stupid. And then when you told me the definition, I'm like, that is amazing. So keep that in your head. And then the other lens I want you to listen to this through is that here's a guy that he's hired more salespeople with no sales experience. Some of them, presumably, they kind of fit the mold.
Yep.
That you're going to learn a lot just on how to hire for your own business. So this is not like this disguised pitch for rokrbox. Some of you naturally are going to be like, ain't no way I'm going to do that on my own, and I'm going to call Josh and see if we can do business together. And some of us are just going to take all of the good stuff that you're going to teach us. Give the quick definition for rokrbox, because that's really what you do. We send you a bunch of crap and you give us the non-crap of it.
Yep. So it's spelled a little weird, ROKRBOX. That's our branded phrase of it. But the real word is rokrbox. It's two separate words. And it's an old gold mining tool used back in the 19th century to separate the sand on the gravel from the flakes of gold. And so, I knew when I first got into this thing, I've obviously come from a prospecting background and like all of the different analogies that people use for, digging for gold. But in real estate, that's essentially what it is, especially with internet leads. I mean, when you look at a wheelbarrow full of what looks to just be dirt, like it all looks like crap. Mm-hmm. And so it takes a lot of work, a lot of tedious, hard work that goes into scrubbing all that dirt and that sand. And eventually those little flakes of gold sink to the bottom, and it makes it all worthwhile, because in internet lead generation, I mean, you're literally talking about a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. And same thing with flakes of gold, just very, very valuable those commission checks are.
Yep. That's right. Awesome. So let's kind of kick it off. I know we have some slides if we need to pull on them, but kick off the conversation around, there's 4 parts that we talked about, right? Attracting, hiring, training, and retaining. So I don't know if you want to construct the conversation around that, or
sure.
I'm going to have lots to add about my failures in doing all this. So you just kind of talk up and talk out, and we'll.
So what's really cool about this is that a lot of these things that you can say that this is what millennials are attracted to. When you really take another step back, you really realize that this is what people actually like. You know, the trend or this sort of stereotype of millennials is that they are a little overly emotional and that they have to be a little bit more handled with kid gloves. But some of the other stereotypes that I really like to look at is what is this? Read one layer deeper in that. Really, when people talk about these, you know, everybody gets a trophy and they need to be, you know, always complimented all the time, like all the negative stereotypes. Really what we're looking for, if we look at it in a positive aspect, it's meaningful work. People like to know that their contributions are actually appreciated and respected and wanted and needed. So that's one thing, is meaningful work. And then another thing is that, again, always making sure that kind of they're pampered. Well, let's use a better phrase for pampered. How about immediate feedback, immediate and close feedback, right? Is then a better way to say pampered. So what's so wrong with allowing people to have, you know, some immediate and close feedback, right? Someone does something great, you give them a high five. Someone does something not so great, you give them the immediate feedback and support on how to correct that. And then another one of the sort of stereotypes of millennials here is that in their workplace, what they're looking for is that they're not just looking for something where they clock in and clock out, and they're not necessarily as financially motivated as the previous generations in the workforce. So really what they're looking for is they're looking for a creative outlet, some place where they can go and kind of find themselves, where they can go, you know, mess up on some things and go, ooh, I don't like that. That's not good. Or they can actually go and do some things they never thought they'd be interested in and go, wow, this is very interesting. I want to explore more of this. So it's a little bit more open-minded and more creative. And then the other thing that we want to talk about here is that they do love team-oriented environments. Again, a lot of these stereotypes of the preceding generations is that they always go out and they work really hard for themselves, and you always try to beat the next guy next to you so you can get the raise. Again, these are all just generalizations, but with millennials, it's actually a little bit more of a team constructive environment where they understand that they're only as strong as the weakest link, that they all want to accomplish things together, and they all want to be able to rely on each other and not necessarily be so independent in the organization. So these are kind of some of the positive stereotypes of the millennial workforce that we want to kind of take a look at here and take a look at some of the things that we're doing. And again, we didn't do this perfectly right out of the gates as well. I mean, I remember the first summer when rokrbox started growing pretty quickly, and we were hiring a bunch of bodies. It was right over the summer. And so we hired a bunch of bodies and we got them all trained up, and they were putting in some good hours and doing some great work and being very competitive all summer. But as soon as the school semester started up in the fall, and everybody's extracurriculars kicked back in and their school classes kicked back in and football season kicked back in, they were like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and quit. And I was like, what are you guys doing? This is crazy. This is like such an amazing opportunity for you. You're growing every day. You're in a competitive work environment. But I realized that I had failed to really make the work meaningful to them and really show them that this wasn't just a part-time job that you're going to clock in and clock out. This is actually the first step in your young professional career. And so for really about the next year, we just hunkered down and really focused on, okay, it's a giant waste for us to invest all this into this talent for them to just leave when school gets hard. So we need to make sure that we're really, you know, showing them the path that they can take, not only through our organization, but after they graduate and the careers that they can pursue by engaging in this as more than just a part-time job and really more of an investment in themselves. And so again, we didn't do it perfectly to begin with. These are just kind of some reflective things of what people were wanting, and then what we actually did create to make this.
And it's I love, because I did the same thing, and I know a lot of team leaders we literally think of the people we hire as bodies that can do the work, and we don't actually think with the end in mind. And like, you know, now we have the same process in place, you know, where we literally, you know, we want the work to be super meaningful. And, you know, we have a career for these. We have a 7-year career track on our real estate team now. We could take someone with no experience and, you know, really track their career. So it's funny that you say that, because I think most team leaders are just literally throwing bodies at a problem, and, you know, it's not the way to do it.
Yeah, and the other mistake that we all make is that you think that whatever the circumstances are today, that they're just going to remain that forever. Like, oh, I hired an ISA, yay! He's going to remain an ISA for the next 57 years until the day you retire. Like, if people are going to want to grow and change, and your organization should support that. So, again, our talent selection process, selfishly enough, I put us right across the street from Texas A&M University. That's where I went to school. I love the culture there, and it's more of a traditional, university versus UT, which is more the liberal university. So traditional background, really good culture. Kids are attracted there because of culture and tradition and things like that. So we already have about 55,000 students right across the street that we can pluck from. So as far as our hiring process looks, if you move to the next slide here, basically we have a job posting up on A&M's career website. It's free, it's easy to use. And that's basically one of our funnels for, just saying, hey, here's what the job opportunity is, and here's the steps to apply for it. But one of the things I want to always talk about whenever I talk about job posting, and we'll be happy to share ours, but it always makes me a little sick to my stomach when I see that the first step in this entire process, like we're only on slide 1 of 7 here, whatever, but the first step of the first slide on this entire process, people go online and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about hiring my first ISA. Does anybody have a good job description? So again, if we talk about meaningful work, a creative outlet, a close and immediate feedback, when you start off by saying, I can't even describe what this person is going to do, that's a really bad head start, right? And I get it that we all want to borrow from each other and try to collaborate and make the best job description, but you need to spend some time first reflecting on what is this job? What is this opportunity, right? Treat it as a person. What could the meaning of this job have for a person, not just another body, right?
Yeah, and I mean, your comment on the left-hand side, if you're really taking the long game in your business and you're not just throwing bodies at stuff, what opportunity do they have with you? Mm-hmm. We had a leadership team literally yesterday, and one of our team members said they had a blank on somebody who was like a month in the role, and it was about capacity. And I was like, we got to improve we literally got this person to leave another company mm-hmm. and get them all jacked up about the opportunity here. And we're 30 days in and we have a blank on them mm-hmm. about their speed of doing work. I'm like, let's make sure we have a better freaking process that we don't we create all this havoc for somebody. And then we said, nah, maybe they're not a fit. And I think a lot of times, to your point, we just, ISA, like, just give me the body. Mm-hmm. I don't care, mm-hmm. and the kind of people you attract that way are not high quality anyway.
Yep.
Because they don't even know what they're attracted to because you haven't made it attractive.
Exactly. So it starts with the job posting. Got to have the job posting. With that, we receive students' resumes. We respond to their resume with an invite to take the DISC assessment, which is really cool because for a lot of these kids, it's the first time they've ever done it. So for the first time in their life, they're actually like answering some questions and getting back this really elaborate report on how they're motivated and how they think and the environments that they try to work in. So for us, we're trying to determine if they have a high enough I. Again, we're hiring for an ISA role. We want someone who's that influencer, the life of the party, never an awkward moment. So we're using it obviously as a screening process, but as part of that, we actually tell them, take this profile and send us the results, but also write us a little short, brief summary on how well you thought it represented you. So there we're getting a little bit more insight into just not like, here's what my DISC said, but here's what my DISC said, and here's what I think about what my DISC said. So a little bit more further engagement on that. Phone interview, which is great for us because our work we do is over the phone. And then we invite them in for an in-person interview with some, basic interview questions. How'd you wind up here at A&M? We want to talk about their bucket list items, see how big of a dreamer they are. And just, some other basic in-person interview questions. But here's the most important part is the observation. And this kind of goes to what you were speaking about, Lars, is really getting a sense of, obviously, can they do the work, but are they going to be a fit for our culture? And so here's basically what we say at the end of the interview. Hey, thanks, Lars. Really impressed with your interview today, along with all your qualifications and your DISC profile. Lars, I think you would be really good at what it is that we do here. However, the next step in our interview process is to invite you back for an observation. This is essentially your interview of us. And so what we want you to do is write down all the questions that you have. We're going to pair you up with one of our most senior reps, and you're actually going to spend an hour in the call center here, taking a look at what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis, the calls we make, the technology we use, our huddles, every single aspect of our business. You're going to get a full taste of what it is that's going to be expected of you. Like, there's no sugarcoating it, right? A lot of times people interview people and they give them these high hopes about compensation and all this opportunity. And then they show up to work on the first day. They don't even know what it is that they're supposed to do. And they're like, oh, I'm supposed to pick up the phone all day and make phone calls? This is miserable. So we actually have them come in and could fully observe exactly what it is that they do, ask all the questions. And at the end of that observation, they then write us an email review on how well they feel like they would fit within our culture. And it's super exciting. I know there's a little screenshot there on the right side, but if you move to the next slide, these are some of the things that I pulled out of these observation emails. It's basically, it's the greatest compliment you can ever receive about the culture of your organization, having a complete stranger come in and say, hey, tell me what you thought. And so these people are literally spelling out, well, it looks like this is what happens every single day. The huddle starts this way. These are people's responsibilities. This is what the expectations are. This is what, work gets rewarded. This is why we try to achieve these certain tasks. But more importantly in that is sort of the culture things that you pick out of there. And people say stuff like family rather than just coworkers. It's a great experience that can better me for my future. This company is different, makes me excited to be able to learn, supportive and uplifting, a lot of positive reinforcement, successes are rewarded. And this is just in an hour. They're only in our office for an hour. High energy and competitive attitude. I feel that I would start to become addicted to meeting my goals at work. Right? Wow. How fun is that? Are these kids writing this about the sneaker store that they're working at in the mall, or the bar that they're selling drinks at, and there's no shame to that work at all. But I'm just saying there's an opportunity that they're seeing that this is more than just a job. This is actually me investing in myself, have fun with each other while also focusing on the task at hand. So yeah. This is probably one of the most important steps in our hiring process, and anybody can implement this no matter what position you're hiring for, because essentially that's what it is. Sometimes one of the biggest mistakes that I know I've made, and I know a lot of my peers have made in business, is you want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves. And this is a really good way to weed that out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So now we've talked about bringing in the right talent and taking them through the selection process. At that point, unfortunately, what a lot of people do, again, in the ISA role, which I keep my eyes and ears on a daily basis, people are always like, hey, I just hired my own ISA. Does anybody have a role play partner? Just hired my own ISA. Does anybody have any scripts they like to use? Just hired my own ISA. How many calls should they be making a month? Like, oh my goodness. So allow me to contribute here. You've got to have an actual laid out hiring process, because again, and this is on the topic of not just ISAs, but on millennial engagement, people like to know what the expectations are, right? They like to have the tools in place for actually being able to achieve what those goals are. So again, in that whole millennial circumstance, they don't like just being thrown to the wolves like the old generations did. Just throw them to the wolves and they'll learn it on their own, right? Baptism by fire. Instead, what they like to do is have everything laid out very neatly in front of them and go, these are what the expectations are. This is what's good. This is what's bad. And so at rokrbox, what we've done, and this is an ever evolving training process, but essentially we have an orientation, got to bring them in, get their paperwork filled out. But we've got some company history videos and some fun things like that. They start to get a taste for the culture, which they've already done through the observation. But we actually give them on the first day an entire packet of all their scripts, the entire workbook of all of their training, so they can look forward to every single training shift, which is 4 of them, 4-hour training shifts. The other thing is, again, if you want to stereotype millennials and say everybody gets a trophy, nobody likes to fail, well, let's be a little bit softer about that. How about maybe people don't like to be embarrassed in front of their peers? Okay, so we actually have a private training room because we understand that this work can be intimidating, especially when you're doing on a big floor of a bunch of experienced people. So we do have a private training room for the first couple shifts, and they do have their own private coach for those first few shifts. It's worth the investment. Right? Again, some people might look at that as a detriment and go, no, you just need to be able to throw them out there and they should be able to do what they need to do. But no, we understand that if you take a little bit more time to set the clear expectations and to make the investment, give them the privacy in their training, give them that immediate close feedback that they're looking for, it makes them start to understand and feel that this work is meaningful, and that to get out there on the call center floor and do the work, there's certain steps that have to be taken. So now you're starting to make the work much more important than what most people stereotypically do by saying, do you have a job listing, and do you have some scripts, and do you have a role play partner? So orientation, scripts and workbook, printed off, handed it out to them up front. They have homework every single night. They come in, they have quizzes every single day, 4-hour shifts. It's one-on-one coaching, private training room. And then the thing that I highlighted here is our customer service evaluation. So I actually wanted to ask you, Lars, do you guys have a sort of customer experience, like a model customer experience of what that looks like from like a buyer presentation or a seller presentation, or any of the experiences within your team?
Yeah, I'm thinking for the buy side, sell side, we do at, from appointment onward, but probably, we built out a training platform for our new agents on our team, but it's probably not to this depth.
Sure. Yeah. Because this is a very microscopic, granular scorecard of like the one conversation that we have. So this, I mean, there's endless amounts of ways that you could incorporate into this your training, incorporate this into your training. For us though, we have the same conversation. Someone's come into the internet and they've searched for homes, and we want to start to engage with them and figure out what their needs and motivation are. So we've actually created a customer service evaluation form, and we've broken down all the portions of the conversation. And then we've actually scorecarded, like, what does it take for you to be good, great, and, you know, awesome. And so again, on their first day of training, they literally get like a scorecarded sheet that shows them, this is the conversation that you're going to have if you actually literally wanted to sit there and scorecard it, almost like if you were scorecarding, you know, an Olympian on their gymnastics performance or whatever. So the customer service evaluation, something really, really important, again, in the new employee training, to make sure that we get them up to speed and have an actual tool for rating what their performance is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I don't know if you're part of any of the Facebook groups, but what you are seeing is 1000% correct, and it blows my mind. And it goes back to the point, like, you seriously got whatever person's on your team, you got them to drop everything in their life and start working with you. And you don't have scripts for them, and you don't, like the things you said. And it is crazy. Like, I just think when, you know, and to be fair to a team leader that's just launching a team and they think an ISA is the answer, we're very rarely, until you have a whole bunch of agents that are busy and they're doing the work, do you even need to, you know, you're better off with a ROKRbox than hiring an inside salesperson. To be fair to the team leader, they're just so overwhelmed that, you know, they're not bad people. It's just that they don't have the time to sit down and build out a new employee training program with an orientation and a script book and a workbook and quizzes, and like they can hardly breathe and get home and you know, they probably kick their dog at night because it's you know. So I don't want to be too hard on the team leader, but it's all true. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's at fault to nobody. The team leader has a million other things on their plate, but if you look at it from the position of, I just gave up my whole entire life to join your team, and here I am sitting here, and you don't have all this in place for me. It's like, oh wow, oh no. And it's fun to talk about this from an angle of, again, millennial engagement, but really it's everybody. Everybody appreciates these things. Everybody appreciates to know what's expected of them and have the tools and training to execute the job. And so again, the next slide here, talking about talent development, we've hired the right talent, we've trained them up. There's obviously continual development. You know, we teach our students that every single shift is a learning opportunity. And so to keep it fun and to keep it challenging, we have a ton of things in place. We have Top Guns, we have Top Gun hat, daily Top Guns, monthly Top Guns for achieving different accomplishments. We also have our floor is broken up into a couple different squads. And so there's competitions amongst the squads, so that, again, we track all the different performance metrics of, you know, buyer percentage, seller percentage, lender percentage, all those attachments. And so we can actually compare within ourselves just to keep some fun competition going on within. As also part of us scorecarding how well we're doing, we're not just doing it metrically, but we're also actually secret shopping ourselves. So we have, I think, about 15 to 20 different secret shops into our own operation each month. And then we use that CSE to actually scorecard ourselves and give us a tangible result. So again, it's about making things more scientific than just kind of like feeling. But what you do is you wind up creating those positive feelings by making it scientific. Daily huddles. This is something huge that we do as well. We have 3 shifts a day. Each shift comes in with a 5 to 10 minute huddle where they share, you know, all the previous day's accomplishments and whatever updates and news that we need to, as well as a time to connect. We actually have like a little connection card. I got these on Amazon. It's like a dinner party conversation starter kit. And you just literally pull out a card and it has a random question, you know, like, what was your favorite cartoon when you were a child? Or there's some really good thought provoking questions in there. And so it gives the opportunity for everybody to kind of interact with each other and kind of share some personal stuff before they get in that super focused professional mindset. And then the last thing of the huddle is really the motivation. You know, everybody sets their daily goals. So everybody, you know, it could be working a shift, could have been working with us for a year, or people could have been working with us for a week. But it's important for people to still set their goals amongst the group and have that sense of pure accountability and give a sense of competition within the work environment. Again, so these are things that are allowing our students and our we call them our family, our ROKRbox family, allowing them to go, okay, I wonder how good I'm doing. Oh, okay, well, there's a metric that measures that for me and shows me how I compare to everybody else, right? That's how you allow people to feel meaning in their work, is by measuring it and reporting it back to them. And one of the phrases that we always say is champions crave accountability. And we talk about it in all different aspects in the real estate industry, but in our own, family headquarters, we talk about it from the sense of we're champions. That's one of our core values. We possess the mindset of a champion, and a champion can only be a champion when there's accountability measures, right? Like the only reason the Cavs beat the Celtics is because they scored a certain number of points and had a certain number of rebounds. Like these are all metrics. These are all forms of accountability. And so if you don't measure your performance on a daily basis and you don't report it back to your people, then it's really, really hard for them to get a feel for how meaningful their work is. So huddles are huge. The core value recognition here, there's a nice picture of our core values put up on the wall. But again, it's not just about, putting them up on the wall with some fancy artwork and having them, quizzed on it in an orientation. What we actually do in each one of our huddles, as well as our masterminds and workshops, which I'm going to elaborate on in a minute, we have core value recognition. So it's a great opportunity to say, hey, before we start the mastermind today, who wants to recognize someone for living by the core values? And so someone might say, oh, I want to recognize John for having fun while being the best. The other day, he came in and it was raining in the parking lot and he came in soaking wet, but he came in with a great attitude and had an awesome shift. He was having fun while being the best. Someone else might say, oh, I wanted to acknowledge so-and-so, the only source of job security is a satisfied customer. The other day this happened on this lead and we went out of our way to make sure to go do this. And that's a great job of Maria ensuring that, the only source of job security is a satisfied customer. So it's not just about like posting and putting them up on the wall. It's about like literally testing ourselves every single day and go, are we actually living by these? Are these actually our values? Because if not, we need to change them. And so again, core values recognition, I'm a huge supporter of doing it daily in your masterminds, in your workshops, in your huddles.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm literally taking notes because I have like 1, 2, 3, 5 things that I'm going to implement.
Nice.
That's awesome. Where'd you get that fancy artwork? It is really fancy. I will say that.
Yes. One of the guys on our team did the graphic design, and then we just ordered it from a local printing company. It's like you stick it up on the wall, it just peels right off.
That's very, very cool.
Yep. Masterminds and workshops. So this is something that's been a really fun evolution within the culture of our organization. And again, a lot of things always just start out of necessity, and then you kind of see some greatness out of it, and then you pour more into it, and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. But essentially, our first mastermind started, I guess it was about 3 years ago. ROKRBOX was still very much a me, myself, and I operation. I was picking up the phone and making all the follow-up calls, but got to a point where we started hiring a couple college kids. I'd kind of figured out the model of what it took to convert online leads, and then now I need to figure out the model of, can I train other people to do this? And so I started hiring a couple part-time college kids and use them essentially to cover the hours that I couldn't be in the office, because that instant response is the most important thing. And so because we were all working different hours and different shifts, we really didn't have a lot of collaboration time. We really didn't have a lot of overlap. And so college kids are easy to bribe with free food. Literally one day said, hey guys, I'm going to order a pizza and I'm going to be in the office at 5 p.m. on Thursday. If y'all want to show up, free pizza on me. I would love to just get some ideas from you. And so, that was really the first ROKRBOX mastermind that was born. And obviously I'd been introduced to very elaborate and very prestigious masterminds in the real estate industry for several years. But really, again, that first ROKRBOX mastermind was me and 3 employees and a box of pizza. And we just said, hey, what are you seeing that we're doing that's good? And what are you seeing that we're doing that sucks? And literally from 3 years ago, and 4 guys around a box of pizza, we've grown now to literally having half of our office out, and I think it's like 50 boxes of pizza now. We have about 75 trained ISAs on staff, and so basically once a month, we invite everybody in the company to come out and share with us those 2 things. What do you think that we're doing really well, or what have we improved on recently? And number 2, what's our biggest opportunity? What do we suck at? What's inconsistent? What are you confused about? What do you think we can improve? What's some inefficiency that maybe you don't even have an idea on, but you just want to point out an inefficiency? And so it's great because we get our entire team to come out and we get the perspective of everybody, whether they've been there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whether they're just finishing their first training shift. And so We basically write down all the pros, all the cons, and then together at the end, we'll just kind of mastermind and start coming up with some ideas and some concepts on ways to actually solve some of these problems that we have. And so it's incredible to look back at it, because thinking of 3 years ago, the minimal number of systems and processes and checklists that we had in our business compared to now, all these things I'm talking about, our training workbook and our scripts and our dialogue, that none of that stuff was there around 3 years ago, but a lot of those things have come as a result of these mastermind experiences. And, again, I know that a lot of the top team leaders that I've met over the last 6-7 years, they definitely believe in going and investing in themselves and putting themselves in prestigious masterminds. But I definitely encourage you to learn as much as you can from your own team by having your own masterminds. Because again, everybody's perspective within the organization is incredibly valuable. And again, if that sounds like another one of those millennial things, right? People's opinions being appreciated, people's work being appreciated. Masterminds is a really, really, really great concept. It's much, much better than saying, hey, we're going to have a meeting and I'm going to tell you all the things that are changing in the company and that you're going to have to start following all this new direction. Nobody likes that.
And it's interesting when you say, like, and it's the first time I've heard anyone really say it that way. It's like, so it's not so much that millennials just feel this way. Like, what human being wouldn't feel this way?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So maybe there's something to that. And maybe I've never heard it that way. It's interesting that who doesn't want to be appreciated? Who doesn't want to feel engaged? Who doesn't want to feel like they're doing meaningful work?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to compete in 75%, like, we know it's this type person. And right now, of the 35%, or a year or two ago, I've got to imagine the other 65% would appreciate all these things anyway.
Exactly.
Just because you're like 2 years out of the formal definition of a millennial, it's not like you're not going to appreciate this level of play by your team leader, by your employer.
Yep.
So
and that's, it's kind of fun. Like, just even the whole topic of like the millennials. I mean, we're all people. We're all the same. We're all made of the same components. We're not very far separated on the genetic chain, and so we're all people. It's just that maybe there might be this new generation of people that are highlighting some things that we as all people actually really appreciate, and that becomes their stereotype. So that's like you said, that's the sucker punch right there. Is, hey, maybe everybody actually appreciates this stuff. The other thing is the workshops. The workshops became sort of an evolution of the masterminds. Once the team got so big and we really were having 50, 60 person masterminds, lasting several hours, we realized that at that point in our organization, there's actually another layer of leadership that we wanted to invest more in, which was basically our seniors and our trainers and our captains. And so we meet with them as well once a month, and it's a little bit more exclusive crowd. So it's about 20, 25 people instead of the 50, 60 person masterminds. But essentially we actually go get a whole space at a local bar and grill and spend about 3 hours doing more of like workshop type things, actually strategizing, coming up with lists and tasks and ideas and checklists and role plays and scripts and objection handlers and things like that. So that's really where we focus and invest on, like I said, the next layer of leadership, because we want them to become the next layer of our leadership. So we understand that it always takes continued investment on our part. So that's what we call our workshops. Again, those are once a month, and those are a great deal of fun. Awesome. But the last thing here, we talked about, attracting, hiring, training. And so obviously, as you can see, we're not just putting them through a great orientation and a great new employee training, but there's constant development of everybody's skills. The last thing is retention, because again, every 3, 4, 5 months, like clockwork, something happens at Texas A&M that could cause us to lose a bunch of people, whether it be summertime, whether it be Christmas time. Kids want to go on a month-long vacation with their parents. We don't give our kids a month off for Christmas. So there's a lot of potential influencers that every few months we could have a bunch of employees just offboard if they didn't care enough about the company. And so again, we want to invest enough into our employees so that we can get that reciprocal investment back from them, because we have them working in the office on spring break. We have them working in the office during their Christmas break. And so at that point, we want to make sure, again, that they understand that, we're a family, we're all in this together. So we have tons of career development programs and employee appreciation events. One of the pictures there is actually our wall of champions. That's about probably 2 years old, but essentially what we've made for all of our team members is kind of a baseball card. And so it has a picture that they get to choose. Some of them are really fun and wacky. And then it has their name, their hometown, but then it also has some of their achievements that they've had while they're at ROKRbox. Like if they won Top Gun, if they're bilingual, if they've been trained on multiple CRMs, if they're actually a trainer themselves. So they kind of have like their own little player card. And if you look closer, you can see all the different achievements that they've had. But then amongst that, we've got multiple squads within our organization. So you can actually see the org chart right up there on the wall at all times. And the real reason for it was the beginning of when we started getting kind of big. It's like you got so many different employees in the building and they don't all overlap their shifts. And we didn't want to do name tags because that was kind of cheesy because we're not a customer facing role. So we thought, well, let's put an org chart up on the wall. And then if you see someone and you don't know who they are, maybe you can just kind of sneak over here to the org chart and be like, oh, their name is, all right, that's what their name is. Okay. So it works multiple purposes. Obviously, everybody can tell who everybody is in the organization, but then also it's great because people can see how people have moved through the organization and moved up into new opportunities. But we love doing employee appreciation events. We're actually doing a pool party this Saturday. Every year we do a pool party around the summertime. We always do a Christmas party. We always do a tailgate for one of the A&M football games, and just like to do a lot of fun stuff so that our team members are basically going back and telling their friends, like, can you believe this job that I have took me on a cruise? Can you believe this job threw a winter gala for us, with food and catered food and beverage and band and everything? Like we really want to grow organically because, again, we're trying to attract the right talent. So if we bring someone into our family and they chug the Kool-Aid and they love it, we want to influence them so that they can go out and start influencing people in their classrooms and people in their extracurricular activities. And so actually now what's beautiful about all of our hiring processes, about half of our hires come in through referral. So it took us a good year and a half to really like grind it out, to make the work meaningful, to iron out our hiring process, to, put the rewards systems in place, to make the work fun. And now it's almost at an organic growth type of rate where people are just being referred to us by their friends that already work for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I would venture to guess that most small businesses, the workforce is at this point now, even though it's only 40%, there's still 60% that appreciates all this stuff. And it's going more to it anyway. I would venture to guess that most small businesses aren't going to respond the way that you've responded, and the way that if as a real estate team, if you're going to be relevant and you're not playing at this level, everything you just described, if it's not your strong suit, you better figure out someone on your team that can bring this cultural aspect into it and love on your people, make it fun, make it meaningful. And that's after like 11 years of doing this, that, this is not my strong suit. And we finally have got this part right, where it's a place, we've got a culture, we've got someone on our team that really migrates towards this type of stuff and the events and the loving and bells ringing in the office and all of that. And with all of that, we still have a need for someone to sift through all the crappy rock and dirt and, to find the little specks of gold.
Yep.
And this is not a sell for ROKRBOX. And at the same point, if all of this overwhelms you and it's not your time to figure out how to do these 27 things that Josh just went through, then you still need to figure out how to convert internet leads. So you still need to call up Josh and see if it's a good fit. And your homework for the next 3 to 5 years is to build this out for your own team. So, man, this was really awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, really, really powerful. What's the best way that people can reach out to you and ROKRBOX?
Yeah, my personal email is josh@rokrbox. Again, it's spelled a little weird, ROKRBOX, rokrbox.com. Be happy to hear from you and, consult with you if you have any questions. The last thing I want to brag about, just as far as how this system has worked, obviously we brought in and trained and hired a bunch of ISAs, but one of the things that's really gotten me excited lately, obviously we all start our business with an opportunity to solve a problem profitably. Which is really kind of how ROKRBOX started. A bunch of people complaining about something. Let's create a solution and let's share it with everyone. But over the last couple of years and working with so many different millennials and working with all the different people on the teams that we work with, it's really exciting to see that really our new purpose is really not just converting online leads and, helping people get in touch with a motivated and enthusiastic realtor, but it's really about just in general moving people forward, right? We help move people down the sales pipeline. But not only that, like Spring, our first client, her business is like 3x'd over the last 5 years. The people that have been on her teams, their businesses have grown multiples over the last couple of years. You know, the buyers themselves have obviously gotten aligned with great realtors and they've moved themselves forward. But this is all kind of about us internally moving our own talent forward. And so I think that's the one big problem that a lot of people have when they try to fill the gap with the ISA is they go, great, I have an ISA. I'm going to put you right there and you're going to stay there forever and be happy. But one thing that we've betted on at rokrbox that we're all in on is that our employees are never going to stay with us. This ISA role is a constantly changing role. And if someone's good at it, they're going to move on and do bigger and better things, right? They're going to go get their license and become an agent. They're going to go start a team and start recruiting agents. And so we've bet all in on that we are just going to develop this talent for the short window, that they have a market rate that's affordable for them to be an ISA. And after that, they're going to move above and beyond onto bigger and brighter things. And so I love to brag that at rokrbox over the last 3 years, we've had 100% job placement of all of our college grads. They've either stayed with us and moved into a full-time role, or they've had multiple job offers when they walk the stage. And I would love to think that it's part of the experiences and the culture and the investment in themselves that they're making every single day at their experience at rokrbox.
Awesome. Yeah, really, really good. I already know I'm going to send this to at least 2 people on my team, just the content you've delivered. So appreciate you. I know we'll see you hopefully in Charleston, September 10th, 11th. That'll be amazing. Yeah. So reach out to Josh. I mean, that's all I can say is that if you're not at the point where you could do all the crap he went through, which is all awesome stuff, just reach out, at least check the box on going through the 100 leads that, you know, to find the 20 that are worth talking to. 20 to 25% is what they're passing through as gold little chips to our team. So they're doing a great job. So reach out to Josh, and we'll see you guys soon. Appreciate your brother. We'll talk soon.
Thanks as always, Lars. See you soon.
See ya. Bye.
Take care.